that they expect you to rush through in your head without looking at it carefully. So let's look at it slowly so we can see where its weaknesses are. They first expect you to assume that unless people are well paid to write software, they won't do it. That's where their assumption starts. So then they expect us to want to have lots of software, and that's all we want, they assume. We don't care if that software respects our freedom or takes away our freedom, just as long as it's there and it runs. The first of these assumptions is factually false. There are about 1 million developers of free software now. Now, the second assumption is about what our values are. And of course, your values could be different from my values, but I'll just tell you that my values are, I don't want software if it doesn't respect my freedom. In fact, I so much don't want it that I won't take it. If somebody offers me a program, but only on a condition that I promise I will not share it with you, then I'm going to tell him no. I'm going to tell him that to be a good neighbor, I have to refuse that software, and I will refuse it.
Oh, it's time to go open. That's what it's time to do. You find open source in the weirdest places. In fact, Pick n Pay, South Africa's largest chain store, has more open source than something with an enormous quantity of source in it. Watch this.
When you go shopping at a major chain like this, you may not be aware of the enormous amount of administration that takes place behind the scenes. Thousands of purchase and sales transactions have to be recorded, and a huge clerical staff have to capture the data. Naturally, they need systems that are reliable and secure.
Pick n Pay strongly supports open source software, right? Especially if there's a strong business need or business reason to deploy open source.
The retail giant has approximately 2,000 terminals using the open source operating system Linux, mainly for capturing data which is fed through to their main database application. More excitingly, the point of sale, that is their till points, are being replaced also with Linux. Part of their decision is based on their experience with Unix.
Pick n Pay has been a Unix shop for a long time, so the skill level to support that is there. The freedom of choice, the platform independence, the scalability and trustworthiness of open source software, it's all there.
The company recently donated over 800 computers to the Shuttleworth Foundation's Tux Lab project. The foundation's boffins wasted no time in refitting the computers to run Linux. Where newer releases of proprietary software may not run on older computers, Linux can be made to run on almost anything. It was an opportunity to help, according to Suzanne Ackerman-Berman of Pick n Pay.
Part of our culture has always been participating in communities and helping uplift the communities who serve us. And we found that the Shuttleworth Foundation were doing this incredible job with the open source education project of computers and schools, and we felt that Tux Lab and the Shuttleworth Foundation had the same value structure as us, and we thought it was a perfect opportunity to work together.
If there's a business need or a business deliverable, right, and the solution is based on an open source environment, Pick n Pay will deploy it.
Ooh, saucy. If you haven't checked out the website for open source yet, I suggest you do it. In fact, I insist you do it right now. Get on your modem and get to the address on your screen right now, which means you won't watch the program. That's not such a good idea. Why don't we all go together? That's what we should do right now. It's time to do it with Mark Shuttleworth, internet billionaire and first African in space. Ladies, he's foxy.
Today we'll be doing it with one of my favorite pieces of open source software, Mozilla Firefox. It's an internet browser, so you use it to surf the internet, just like Internet Explorer or Safari if you use the Mac operating system. But this one has loads of innovative features, it's secure, it's very fast, lightweight, and it's available on Windows, Linux, and the Mac operating system.
One of the most powerful things about Firefox is your ability to customize it with any of a host of extensions. Do ads on the page irritate you? Get more extensions, install the free ad blocker, click on Remove this object, and Bob's your aunt, it vanishes. You can also search a host of informative sites directly from the page you're on. Need to do a Google search? Type in your query, and there you go. Want to check the spelling? Use the drop-down list to choose dictionary.com. And if that's not enough, you can add any search engine you please. Tab browsing is seriously convenient. Stay in one browser and skip from one page to another by clicking the relevant tab. Firefox is highly paranoid on your behalf. It takes security very seriously indeed. With much better security options than any other browser on the market, you're a more secure surfer for free.
Well, that was Mozilla Firefox. The things I like most about Firefox are the tab browsing and the security, the fact that I know that I'm much less likely to get a virus if I'm surfing the web using Firefox than if I'm using one of the other browsers out there. Join us next week when we'll be doing it again with open source software.
If you'd like to learn more about how to do it with open source, go to our website, www.goopensource.org, as opposed to the Lord of the Rings kissing website, www.snogorg.org, which is very important. Coming up later in the program, how to handle a GIMP, which is very important. Every home should have one. And also the results of our fantastic competition where you can win everything. That's great. Now, just excuse me, I have a bit of a long weekend, a bit of a virus check to do myself. Thank you. Every week we promise to bring you a boffin in the world of open source technology. This week we meet mobile game designer Diogo Jonkos. How's it, Diogo?
Fine, thanks, and you?
I'm very well, thank you. Tell me a little bit about what it is that you do. You design mobile games.
Yes, at the moment I'm working from home, designing mobile games, making them, programming, and doing the graphics. I'm doing the graphics for a cell phone game called The Bus, which is running...
Is it playing now?
Yeah, this is The Bus. I'm working on this with two of my friends.
It's a bit big for a cell phone.
Yeah.
Tell me a bit about, so what are you doing on this particular, this game will play on a cell phone?
Yes, at the moment we're aiming first for Nokia's cell phones, and afterwards we'll convert it to other cell phones. My two friends are doing the programming, and I'm doing the graphics. Before I worked on a bus, I finished another cell phone game called Demolish, which I did the programming and the graphics, and I sent it to two distributors. And that was also for Nokia Series 40 phones. The one distributor has already started distributing it overseas. Locally, it's going to be distributed by Exact Mobile.
What does it cost to develop a game?
Cell phone games, most of the tools you can get free. Like, for example, Nokia, they give you the emulator and the SDK. The SDK is basically the code you need to make it run on Nokia's phones. So that you can get for free from Nokia's site. And the code that you use, Java, you can also get the compilers free. So for a cell phone game, you can basically your only cost will be your time and getting all the phones to test it on.
Tell me about the GIMP.
Yeah, the GIMP is a graphics program. That's what I'm using for all the graphics. The features that GIMP include compared to commercial software, it's very close to commercial software. It basically contains most of the functions. I
mean, do you envisage a time when, let's say, you'll be designing full-scale kind of games, platform-level games for cell phone?
Yeah, it's slowly getting there. Like, for example, Nokia's N-Gage. You can do some good 3D stuff with it. I don't know if there's a game called Tomb Raider. I'm sure a lot of people know that. Now it's working on the N-Gage and it looks pretty good. So cell phones are slowly getting there.
You've used GIMP, which is an open source based a program. What's the benefit of using open source when you design a game?
The startup costs for a game company are usually high, and most of that money goes towards software. And because open source is free, it's a huge benefit to use it for starting up.
I mean, you're saying that you use open source initially to save money, but it's quite an altruistic kind of idea of making it available all the time. Would you then go on to develop things that other young developers could use as tools? Or, I mean, would you just use it while it suited you and then, go proprietary and then charge people for your games?
Both, if I have time, then I would invest time to make better tools to help people use it as well. And then I would also distribute it for free. But at the moment, GIMP, because it has actually all the features that I need to use, I've never had the need to make any improvements or add anything to it. But if I do, then I would do that.
Thanks for coming in. It's been lovely to have you. Best of luck with your games. I hope they all do very well in the UK.
Thank you.
And may you live long enough to contribute to open source.
Thanks for having me on the show.
Cheers. You might want to get yourself one of these. We call it a pen. It's a very miraculous device that allows you to create paper backups, which is very good. Our competition's coming up in just a minute. In the meanwhile, write down the following website addresses. They're enormous fun, whoopee hey, and they'll teach you to be clever.
Welcome to On the Web.